Hey everybody, welcome back to another Reasonable Price Prediction, the series where we try to figure out where your favorite altcoins could be headed. Today we are looking at Chainlink, and because it's been a while, we're going to be looking at the general trends Chainlink makes from cycle to cycle. Now in this video we are going to be specifically looking at a 4-year cycle theory, what could play out if we follow a 4-year cycle theory. And for those that are unsure, a 4-year cycle theory means that every halving, which roughly at the moment takes 4 years, we see similar movements happen within that time frame. We usually get a bull run, we usually get a bear run, and then we usually get a smaller bull run followed by a smaller bear run, and then that repeats itself. And we can see that Chainlink launched back in 2018, and this was just before kind of one of the smaller bull runs. This smaller bull run took place in 2019, so you could argue that 2018 was a bear run year. This was bad. And you can see that we did get good highs towards the end of 2017, but as soon as 2018 came along, Chainlink basically traded downwards. And we can see if we zoom in, we actually traded basically along this support for over a year, and we kept coming down to this support and eventually rallying up while also reaching this high, this resistance that we couldn't really break above either multiple times. And this took place over the year of 2018. If we take a look at what we're currently doing, and again, plus 4 years. So again, if we're assuming a 4-year cycle and we're adding 4 years to 2018, we should expect something similar to play out. And if we do look at what we got in 2022, we can see that we did rally down for a little while at the start. Again, this is kind of our bear run year, but once we hit these lows here at $5.50, we keep bouncing off it, and Chainlink really didn't go down below this. Technically we had a fake out down below this support, but we actually made a move up out of this range basically straight afterwards. And again, if we check the time frame, we can see that here Chainlink stayed, kept bouncing off this low for about 58 weeks. Very similar to the 61 weeks we saw here. Now note that I'm measuring from this low when we come down to revisit this low, because technically here we moved up above it, we didn't actually come down and visit it. So I'm measuring from this first test of this support to the final test of this support here. 1, 2, 3 tests. And again, back to 2022, we can see that we kind of get something similar. We get 1, 2, 3. But again, it's from the final low to the first low. So that's cool. We can say that we have a somewhat similar move when we should have seen a somewhat similar move in accordance with the 4-year cycle theory. What did we get in 2019 then? So 2018, we spent going sideways and down. What happened in 2019? 2019, we got a leg up, and we moved up from the previous highs to the previous lows by 150%. And again, we kept bouncing off these lows until we eventually made another leg up, but we can see the time that we spend here is much shorter, and of course that we don't move back down below this support. We make a leg up and we stay within that new higher range. And again, taking a look at what happened in 2023, plus 4 years from 2019, we can see that we made a move up from these highs to these lows, but again, know that this leg up happened in Q3 of 2023. So instead of it happening in Q1 of 2019, we've added plus 6 months. So we can see that there's already a bit of a stretch here. Things aren't exactly the same. There's quite a bit of a time difference between these moves. And also, there's not just a time difference, there's a percentage difference, because we move up 50% here from these highs to this new low range that we set. So doing some quick math, we can see that we're getting a third of what we got last cycle. And this is basically going to be the premise for this hypothesis, for this thought experiment. We're going to see where we could potentially move with Chainlink, and with the only data that we have so far, which is a third of the move that we got previously, we're going to apply this to, again, all the moves that we've had in the previous cycle and see where we end up if we follow that. Now, I will disclaim very quickly, I don't think we will just follow a third of the move, what we got last cycle. Nothing is that simple, but it is just an interesting thought experiment and could give you a bit of a ballpark on where Chainlink could be headed. So again, we make this move up 50%, and we find a new support at $12, whereas before our old support was $1.50. And note, we come down to this low about 3 times back in 2019. If we zoom in, we can see we come down once, we have a rally up, we come down twice, we have a stronger rally up, and then we come down for a third time, and then break up out of the range. And from this first low to the final low, this is 27 weeks. If we take a look at what we've currently experienced, we can see that we still have some time left. But note that we have this first low, and then a stronger rally up, this second low, and then a weaker rally up, and then now we've come back down to get this third low. So first of all, there's a difference with the rallies. We got the weaker and then the stronger rally back in 2020, 2019 time, but kind of nowadays, modern times, we got the stronger rally and then the weaker rally. So just note that that is different. But what is the same is that we get these kind of 3 visits down to the low. Now it is very possible that Chainlink continues to trade down. It is possible that Chainlink breaks below this support. But as of the time of recording, it hasn't. And it looks like there is a possibility that it could rally up like we saw in 2020 and break up into a higher range. And that could potentially happen by July of this year. So basically 1 or 2 more weeks, if it's going to follow the exact time frame that it did last cycle, which again, I don't think it will follow to the T exactly. It never does, and we even saw this first part here didn't follow to the T. They were similar, but there was obviously a time discrepancy to some degree. So, okay, we've got the support. We've established that this is also similar to what we got back in 2019, 2020. What happened from there? If we zoom in, we can see that from these highs, we moved up 100% to our next lows. So again, a third of 100% is 33%. If we zoom out the chart and take a closer look, we can see we had the support from this high at $22, which we set back in March when the whole crypto space was rallying. If we move up 33% from that high to the next low, that puts us at a price of $30 for Chainlink, and that's our support, remember. So most likely the price is going higher. And if we zoom out, we can see that it's not too far away from the all-time highs for Chainlink. Assuming that that is the low indeed, and maybe we move up to kind of $38 as our high, we can see we found that as a resistance back at the end of 2021. Could be something that plays out, and it would kind of line up. You do want an altcoin to be coming close to its previous all-time highs as it's gearing up to a bull run. And hopefully by 2025, altcoins should be basically in a bull run or gearing up to be in one. And again, we're kind of ignoring timeframes here for how long it spends. If you really want to measure we broke into this range back in August of 2020 and we had our final low 20 weeks later. So you could say that, again, if it's going to follow it to the T, which of course I really doubt that it will. And I don't know, you can say it rallies up for a few weeks and we put in our first low or we break into the range. In October, we go 20 weeks ahead. You could be looking at Chainlink putting in its final low in this range at $30, the final $30 low in March of 2025, which would give it space to put in its kind of final leg up for the bull run peak, which back in 2020, Litecoin moved up from these lows 500% to the all-time high, which was just over $50. It was like $53. If we take, again, a third of that move and apply it to what we're currently, our current kind of future, what we could expect, it would put Litecoin at a price of $85. I think that's achievable. Again, in total, that would be around an 8x from current prices. And with an $80 billion market cap, you're looking at about a $64 billion market cap at the peak of Chainlink, which for reference is about the size of Build and Build, Binance's current market capitalization. But do know there are obviously some discrepancies with this that we've seen, whether it's time frame, whether it's believing that we're going to see exactly a third of every move that we got last cycle. There's a lot of things that you just have to assume to be true, which of course we cannot know to be true until they take place. Again, there's a very real possibility that we trade down below this range here and break below this kind of $12.70. If you're a trading man, you might want to kind of put a short position for Chainlink at current price and say if it moves up to $15, that's where your stop loss goes, but you might want to put a take profit all the way down at $8, $9. Whether that happens, I don't know. And also, I don't recommend using options and leverage. I think that's like a guaranteed way to lose money. But either way, it's an interesting thought experiment, but definitely not something to rely or use solely when kind of making your financial crypto decisions. Taking a look at the Bitcoin pair, Chainlink is always a really interesting one, in my opinion, on the Bitcoin pair, because during 2021, when we had this huge crazy bull run, Chainlink didn't really do great. Now it did end up higher than when it started. We could see that it just about does this on the first week of January, which is here. We are at a slightly higher price than where we entered the year, but overall Chainlink basically trades sideways and doesn't get like the huge spikes that a lot of altcoins see. Instead, it had that huge spike in 2019 and 2020. It had them in the mini bull run year and the mini bear run year, which is really interesting. But of course, if you want to apply the plus 4 years for the 4-year cycle, we can see that in 2023, we didn't really get that. And while we did predominantly trade down for 2023, we actually closed the year at basically the same price. But again, with 2024, we're currently down on the Bitcoin pair. Now it looks like there's kind of a W playing out here. We've come back to this high. We look like we're about to come back down to this low, and potentially we could move back up again on Chainlink against Bitcoin. Of course, we could just very well drop lower and break down below the supports that we previously found. That would also line up with the long-term projection that we've seen for Chainlink on the Bitcoin pair. But if we do have this W pattern play out, we will most likely come back to this resistance of 45,000 Satoshis, and with kind of how long it'll probably take us to get there, it will be the start of 2025. So whether we kind of move into a bull run from that point, or whether we get a bit of a pull down before moving up into our bull run, either way, it would probably line up that this will be one of the final lows that we see for Chainlink on its Bitcoin pair. And again, if we take a look at the moving averages, we can see again Chainlink's dipped back down below this. It did the exact same when we first moved from this high to this low. It looks very similar. It looks like we're going to at least come down to this low. Now potentially we might not hit this price, we might just come down to where we wicked here. Either way, I would say it's sub 2,000 Satoshis where we're headed. But of course, there's no guarantee of anything in crypto. Basically, what we're hoping for is once we hit this low, we move into a rally like we saw back in 2018, 2019, where we basically move up, keep putting higher highs, keep putting lower lows in against Bitcoin. And again, this cycle, Chainlink really outperformed Bitcoin to a crazy degree, 4,000%. I don't think you should expect that. If we do move down to this low, however, and we move back up to the high, you could see a 7x against Bitcoin, which I think is much more reasonable. I think a 7x against Bitcoin for Chainlink is definitely doable. Again, if we want to assume that from current prices, Bitcoin kind of 3x's to the top of the bull run peak, goes to maybe sub 200k, around 180,000 US dollars, that would be putting Chainlink at a much higher prediction than what we saw on the USD chart. You'd be seeing something around a 21x. And again, for a market cap crypto that is as high as Chainlink's, kind of a 21 billion market cap, it's in the top 20 cryptos for market capitalization, excluding stable coins and stuff. It's hard for me to see that. So maybe we don't actually come back up to these highs. Maybe we kind of revisit where we got rejected in 2021. Technically, this is the bull run peak for Chainlink, and that's at 10,000 Satoshis. That would be closer to a 5x, translating to somewhat of a 15x on the US dollar chart. Maybe that's more reasonable for you. Ultimately, it's for you to decide by doing your own kind of research, and hopefully this video is just an interesting thought experiment, or perhaps expose you to a couple of realities or potentials. Either way, if you liked the video, please leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike too, that's totally fine. Consider clicking the video here. Google thinks you want to watch it, or click my face if you want to see other Chainlink and other altcoin analysis. Either way, thanks so much for watching, guys. Take care and peace.